This computer. Okay. Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Estate in Black and White. And I'm Laura Cooper, and we are missing my good friend Amanda Whitespear today. But we have Dawn Lawrence here, so today is going to be really special. Dawn is a realtor at EXP, and she is located in the DFW area. And she has such a good story. We're going to get into her background a little bit, and then we're going to focus a lot of our time on what she's doing currently with short sales. This is going to be interactive, so anybody on here, feel free to ask a question, raise your hand. You're not interrupting. Let us know or drop it in the chat and we can get to it. But I guess let's just take it away, Dawn. I know we didn't really do much prep on this. I,
Don't worry about it.
I
Yeah.
want to I want everybody to get to know you a little bit because although I know your story, I know about like some of your personal medical stuff, your family stuff. Tell everybody kind of how you got into the business, and what that journey was like, and maybe a little bit of your professional background so they can understand how they could go from that to what you're doing today because it's pretty extraordinary, I think.
Yeah, thank you. So I got into real estate. I got licensed December 16th, 2020. Joined EXP, my very first brokerage. After interviewing 13 brokerages, I chose EXP um, in January 14th, 21.
Okay.
Uh, so I went to get my photos taken the following week on January 22nd, 2021. I caught COVID and I got it really bad, to the point that I have what they call brain fog, but really it's brain damage. They equated my brain to somebody who had drowned and been resuscitated. Like, I think my son is on here. Nobody had a clue how sick I was. That's when people were going in the hospital and not
Mhm.
coming home.
Tell
I was,
everybody really quickly though, you still had your regular job.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I was doing dual career.
Yeah.
But when I caught COVID, I got to take 6 weeks off. But I was so sick, so I was learning real estate during that 6 week when I wasn't sleeping. I was previously an engineer. The Zoom that we're on, my colleague and I built the network that it rides on. It could only handle 2 million calls. COVID happened and everybody was on Zoom. So that's my previous life. In 2023, yes, 2023, I got to retire from my engineering career because my brain did not fix itself. You would never know now. You guys wouldn't, but believe me, it's still there. Um, I lost the ability to do the technical aspect of my engineering career, but I gained so much more from it. And my son can attest to this, in that empathy was not in my vocabulary. Um, I compassion was like, and I still am, but not to the extreme. Put on your big girl panties, suck it up, and just do it.
Hmm.
That was me. So I started when I caught COVID, when I was learning real estate, I found a coach, a code calling coach, and I started code calling. So that's how I built my business and I stopped code calling, expires, cancels, probates, all those in December of 2025. So for 5 straight years, I code called.
And tell them your daily schedule with that. What did tell
Yeah.
because you were a regimented beast. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just say that.
So I literally live by my calendar. Um, and it used to be, my goal used to be 30 contacts a day. And once I built my pipeline, it went down to whatever I did in 2 hours is what I did in 2 hours. If it was 10 contacts, if it was 40 contacts, whatever I did. And then I
She
had,
she means getting somebody on the phone, y'all. So if you can
yeah.
imagine how many calls she had to make to get 30 people to answer the phone, that's a lot.
And it wasn't just answering the phone. They had to be the right homeowner. There were several, like four different
Criteria.
things,
Yeah.
yeah, they had to meet in order for it to be a contact. Um, so again, in December, just a few months ago, is when I stopped cold calling. In summer of 24, I was contacted by a lady up here in Dallas, but she is nationwide. She was nationwide, to be a referral partner for short sales because they were getting so many, and she was trying to trim her team. So that's when I got into short sales. When I tell you it's a whole God thing, I just can't say it any other way. I fought short sales because it's so much work and it's so hard, and every transaction is even more completely different than the last one because every lender is different. There's just so
Mhm.
many difference. And what I found is if you don't have a clue what you're doing in short sale, you should not touch it because you can do more harm than good.
Hmm.
So as time went from summer of 24, she had to step back from real estate, and basically I bought her book of business. And so now
Which came from where, by the way? When you say you bought her book of business, what do you mean?
I have a Facebook group, the only group, the only short sale group worth being a part of. I have short sale experts; those are two Facebook, but my Google business page is what gets so much traction.
Okay.
Investors, I have tons of contacts with investors now. They send me short sales daily. We're getting this week. I have 5 new short sales. I have 2 meetings tomorrow, one on Friday. I went on one last night. So I mean, it is
It,
constant.
is it the owners of the houses calling you primarily because they're distressed and they're looking to how do I sell my house I'm about to get foreclosed on?
It is everybody. It is other agents, especially EXP agents. The brokers are now giving out my name for short sales. It is if you Google short sales and who's a short sale expert, I am the first Google business page that pops up. So I am always at the top of the list. So it's homeowners, it's investors, it's other agents, it's EXP agents so literally it's everybody.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so now thank God I have Michael. He's on here now. My
Mhm.
son, he helps me tremendously. I couldn't do it without him. Because they're a beast. They are an absolute beast.
Do do you think that since you've been dabbling, you started dabbling in it in 2024, have the amount of short sales started to increase because of people getting pinched with the cost of the taxes and insurance going up, or has it been pretty much what you've,
Well,
studied?
and I'll get into some of that. For me, of course, I've seen an uptick because I just got the Google business page and a lot of the websites, all of that in October, November timeframe of 25.
Okay.
So my business went from, maybe one a week to now we're getting 3, 4, 5 leads a week. And when we get a lead, 8 times out of 10, it's going to be a solid lead.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you have, as far as for the purposes of this call, do you have something specific that you want to go over and like
Yes.
teach, or do you want me to? Because
Nope.
one of the things I do want to do with you, if you're open to it, is you know how I have some questions to ask you about a couple. So I'm on the buyer side of a short sale. I have a buyer buying a short sale, and then I also coincidentally have a seller that wanted me to list their house, and then I found out after I got the pictures
Right.
done that they hadn't been paying their mortgage. So I thought it might be kind of cool this morning when I was thinking about you being on here because it was like how Teddy was like, "Hey, I messaged you. I know you're busy," but I thought, well, hell, we're doing this
Might as well take
might as
advantage.
well
Yeah.
take advantage of it. So what I think I'll do is like let me let you open it up to you to kind of whatever you want to teach everybody about how short sales work, like give them an overview because a lot of people don't they hear the word, they might kind of think they know what it is, but maybe just break it down so people understand what it means. And then whatever you wanted to teach. And then I would love to like ask you some of my very specific questions so that somebody may hear something and learn from it. And it's also going to 1000% validate what you said about if you don't know about how short sales work, you should absolutely not be doing it. You need to partner with an agent because the poor listing agent on my buyer's deal right now, the whole deal is about to fall apart. And I have just started putting together all the pieces and now I understand how she completely screwed the whole thing up for everyone.
Yeah.
She, the agent, screwed all the
Yep.
math up for everyone and sold the house for the wrong price. And my buyers are now about to possibly lose the property and however many, over well over $1,000 they've spent on inspections and everything.
Okay, so definitely let's talk about that, see where I can help you
Yeah,
afterwards. But you can
perfect.
ask questions too. But I'm going to share my screen
Sure.
if I can figure out how to do it. Oh, I
Oh,
can't.
I think I have to give you permission. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, no, no, no. I don't want to share. I'm going to let you share.
I'm going to
Share
send request. I sent a
screen.
request.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Allow. Perfect.
Okay. And I'm just going to go through my. Okay. Nope, that's not the one I want. Hold on. Well, hold on. Let me unshare that one. Stop sharing. Sorry, hold on. I want to share my other one. There we go. Okay. Do you guys see just the screen of it looks like in Canva?
Yep.
Okay. Is it big enough for you to see?
Um,
Yeah.
yes, or can you go into presenter mode?
Yes. Well, I think so. Hold on.
Hit present right there. You got it right there.
There we go.
Is that better?
Can you guys
Perfect.
see it?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. Okay. Um, okay. So first of all, I'm Dawn Lawrence. I'm up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I do short sales throughout Texas, and I have referral partners throughout the nation. Um, so if you know of somebody even in another state, I can definitely help them. Short sales are a huge opportunity that it realtors miss. I have found over and over and over again, like yesterday I went to the meeting and they hired a realtor to help them sell their home, even though the realtor knew it was a short sale, they had no clue what they were doing. And they now have a foreclosure date. So now I have to help stop the foreclosure and really take this over because that agent had zero experience and just wanted, they said, pick me. I just want to list your home. I know what I'm doing, but they had no clue what to do on a short sale. So, but it's an opportunity missed by agents because number one, they get scared of short sale. And number two, they lack the information needed to do a short sale. So, So just really quickly, Laura asked the information, am I seeing more? I'm seeing more because of the tools I have in place for people to reach out to me. But just a little information here in, the foreclosure filings in 2022 through 2024, you can see that we had an uptick. You have to remember, during COVID, forbearances were given to everybody, so no foreclosures were happening. So these numbers are bigger than during the COVID era from 21 to end of 22, I think, because foreclosures could start to happen after that was lifted, after that forbearance was lifted. But we are still 86% lower in numbers than the peak of 2010. I
Wow.
think back then we had 1.2 million. I mean, it was something so astronomical. It was crazy.
So after the 2008, 2009 crash, we're
Yeah.
still nowhere near that. And it doesn't look like the numbers are going up exponentially or anything. I'd love to know
No.
what 2025's pan out to be.
So 2025 was a little bit higher than 2024.
Okay.
I think that number was 372 or something like that. It wasn't a ton more.
Okay.
So in March, just to give you kind of an idea, in February there were 31,000 somewhere 786 pre or foreclosure filings, and that is nationwide. In March, that number was 32,800 foreclosure filings. And that is, the default notice went out. There's 30, 60, 90 days behind. Then in 120 days, there's the scheduled auction and the bank REOs, where the bank
Can,
that couldn't sell the property at auction. Now they own the property and they will eventually sell it. So,
do you have a slide in here that gives like the basic definition of what a short sale is, or can
yep,
you really quick, you do? Okay,
yep,
perfect.
that's Ness. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So what we're seeing right now is oops, sorry, the Homeowners that are distressed are because insurance increases, property taxes have increased. I'm seeing a ton of new builds that were built 22, 23, 24. We all know that when a property is newly built, they're only paying taxes on the land, and most people have no clue that their property taxes going to go from $800 for the year to $8,000 a year. So that the client I saw yesterday, their payment increased from 2,200 to $3,600. Of course, job loss, divorce, just affordability in general across the nation. These are the main reasons that are driving short sales. Okay, what is a short sale? A lot of people think they know, but so here's the definition. A short sale occurs when the lender actually agrees to allow the homeowner to sell their home for less than the mortgage balance to avoid a foreclosure. So the short does not mean it's quick. It means that the lender is agreeing to a short on what is owed. Um, and these three components have to be present in order to do a short sale. The property is worth less than the total owed to the bank, and that includes late fees. That includes, for instance, I had a one of my first short sales back in 2024, a lady, her mortgage balance was $93,000. But because she hadn't paid in 5 years, she owed the bank $343,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, crazy. And we sold it for 170. But still, we're seeing that all over. But again, the property was worth a lot less than what she owed, the 343. So I have one that they owe 25,000 dollars. And the value is 315, the appraised value is $315,000. That's still a short sale. So it doesn't have to be a significant amount. Um, it has to be just less than what is owed to the lender. The seller has to have a financial hardship. Again, we're going to death, divorce, job loss, income decrease. So there has to be. Oh, I have one that he doesn't have a problem paying it, but he found after he bought the home a couple years ago that he has $60,000 worth of plumbing that has to be fixed. And he can't afford to pay that. So that's going to be a short sale because it's a huge amount of money that is owed that he has to pay to fix the house that he cannot afford to pay. And then
What about like HOA dues that are behind that would need to be paid at
yeah,
closing?
I'll
Okay.
get into that in just a
Okay.
few minutes. Yep.
Okay.
So
So
in the
wait, really quickly though, the question I have in general is it doesn't just have to be the mortgage balance versus the sale price. There are a bunch of different ways they can be upside down.
Correct. It
Okay.
has to be the mortgage balance plus all closing costs. The short sale lenders pay agent compensation, they pay title, they pay closing costs. So it has to, if somebody owes $325,000 on a home and their home value is $330,000, by the time they tack uh on 325 the closing cost, the agent compensation, all that stuff, they are still underwater.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
And the third component that has to be present is that the lender has to agree to accept the reduced payoff. Um, okay, so here's for the realtors how to recognize if it's a possible short sale. Um, the the homeowner owes more than the home is worth, of course. They've received a foreclosure notice. They may say, "Hey, I have a foreclosure pending." Most people in this situation ignore those notices, though. So they may not notify you as an agent that I have a foreclosure coming next week because, first of all, they were embarrassed or they didn't think it was important. So they just try to sell the home, hoping that it sells before the foreclosure date without realizing their options went from, arm's length to pinky, to their options have definitely closed. They have to be behind in mortgage payments. 99.9% of the time. There are a couple of caveats. And because they have a financial hardship, they cannot no longer afford the home. And um, they say, hey, I want to avoid the foreclosure, so let's sell the home. If they have any of these signs, that is your sign. That's a sign for you to ask questions to determine, is this a short sale? Okay, do you have any questions on this screen?
Nope, I think the last two make it pretty clear what a foreclosure short sale is and who we're looking for. Most important thing I take away from this, from my own learnings, are you do need to make sure you ask these tough questions when you're going on listing appointments. If you get any inclination that you think people might be sketchy or something, ask these questions up front. Do not wait till you pay for their pictures like I did.
Yep,
Because
exactly.
most people watching this now or in the future are not going to be in a like leads flowing in situation like you are, Don. They're going to have like one-off opportunities
Yes.
for short sales. So they need to start knowing how to identify them is what I think is really important.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If agents add into their listing presentation the questions that would help them determine um, that if it's a short sale or not, I think that would be, and I've done that. I've added that into my listing presentations for my traditional sales too, just because homeowners do not want to overshare their information with you. But if you can dig um, to ask questions to find out if it is a foreclosure, then I mean, if they're facing foreclosure, if they're late on payments, even if it's 30 days,
Yep.
um, especially if they're newer homes and we know that they may be upside down, a short sale may be the option to go.
Well, and I think like for me, it kind of is. I mean, I've done, 500 plus transactions or whatever. I could navigate it, and I probably now have enough experience that I could either partner with someone like you. I might be able to figure it out, but even I might still be apprehensive and want to say to the people, hey, I'm going to pull in a co-listing agent on this. And I think
Right.
that's what everybody needs to hear that,
Yeah.
especially through like your first couple. They need to
Yeah.
have somebody who can mentor them through this very specific type because I'm even super nervous about making sure I don't screw anything up. So I know.
Yeah. But you got
And
me,
what
so
kind of
that's okay.
questions? Like I know obviously, like for me, I think I would make sure and tell them when I'm working their net sheet, I need to know what their payoff is. Maybe give me a copy of their statement. Like
Yeah.
are there any things you know that you ask or that we should ask?
Yes. Okay. Um, so so I always ask for a copy of their mortgage statement,
Hmm.
always now, even on traditional sales.
Hmm.
I always ask, have you missed any payments? Are you behind on any payments right now? If you ask those two questions, and then you've already ran your comps before you go to your listing agreement, so you know what the value it is, and you're supposed to be asking them, what is your payoff?
Hmm.
If you just those simple three pieces of information will help you determine a route for them.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the most common hardships. I've said a couple of these already: divorce, death, job loss, income reduction, medical bills, major home repairs, rising living expenses. Um, and this includes, the increase in insurance and um, property taxes. So these are the biggest events that happen that cause people to need to do a short sale. Okay. These are things you may hear your buyer, your homeowner say that doesn't register that, oh my gosh, this is a short sale. If any one of these, if your client says any one of these, that's especially then is when you really dig deeper. Okay, how far behind are you? When is the foreclosure date? Um, what do you owe on the home? And so you're still asking those couple of questions. If you hear any one of your clients say one of these statements, um, again, I have found over and over again over the last year that homeowners tried to sell their home and the agent did not know anything about a short sale, did not discuss a short sale with them. And it's really unfortunate because this could help doing knowing at least a little bit about a short sale as an agent, you'll be able to provide something to your client that other agents are not able to provide because they literally just walk away from a short sale. I used to do this. I used to be tell people, well, if you're upside down, I don't know how to help you. Otherwise, you're gonna have to bring, the difference of what you owe and what you get in an offer, you're gonna have to bring that difference to the closing table. And a lot of people don't have that kind of money. I
Yep.
walked away from listings because of that.
Yep. And
Not
you're
any.
saying, and you're saying that, like what you told me, that I know you probably got this down the road too, but you can still get paid as the agent if they do a short sale. And that's what the reason I think the reason I said that is because for me, when I've done the same thing, it's because I don't see a path forward for them to have to bring money and me to get paid. So,
Right,
like, why would I, other than just being a kind human, why would I help them through that if I've got a $0 paycheck coming to me?
right. Yep.
So that's why you probably did it too. You were like, what am I going to do here? I can't work
Yeah,
for free. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I thought the only way to do it was to bring that difference to closing, and everybody fights that. So
Yep.
a lot of times people just foreclose. So I really think short sales people should be made to understand the high level on how to identify and then what to do if they cannot help.
Yep.
Okay. So here are again I ask all of these questions plus a ton more. Um, are there liens on the property? Now, here is a question I ask all the time, and 99% of the time, people have no idea that there are other liens on their property other than the mortgage. Um, if you get down payment assistance, if you do a loan modification and there's a HUD partial claim on, those both go on to as a lien on your property. So that this is a huge question. And the very first thing I do once I get the listing agreement signed and we send over the letter of authorization for the bank to speak to us is Michael asks the title company, go ahead and pull the title for this property because we want to see what liens are on there and how we can help get those liens off. Another thing in short sales, you have to understand what happened and when did the financial hardship occur. If they got sick and they couldn't pay their they couldn't pay their mortgage. When did that, what was that date you got sick? When did that hardship start? You always have to ask that question. Is the property currently occupied? It's fine if it's not occupied. What we are seeing right now is, Mike, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a closing on Friday a week and a half ago, and the day before that, for some reason, the lender sent a company out there to secure the property, and they kicked in the back door. So we had to pay. The buyer's agent and myself paid to get that fixed. It was just the craziest thing. So if it's not occupied, you have to tell the lender clearly it's not occupied, but it is secured. And make sure that because they're always changing my lock boxes out. So you need to communicate this to the lender that it's either occupied or not occupied.
So they're
Um,
at the end of the day, the lender's mission is just to protect their asset because it's they know that they stand to gain or lose maybe 25, $30,000 if somebody goes in there and bust it up or something.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Because one property was complete squatters ended up moving in there after he left, and they pulled all the copper out of the walls, they removed all of the appliances, and it was a year-old home, so it was a brand new home. So we then had to dispute the appraisal and to get a lower appraised value because that value is no longer there. And it's because he left and this was before I got involved. He left the property vacant and squatters moved in and just ransacked the home.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I have so many stories. Of course, do you know what you currently owe? And this is when I always ask for a copy of their mortgage statement.
Yep.
And I also, as soon as we open the short sale, we also ask for a payoff statement from the lender. And the critical one is, has a foreclosure date been scheduled? If it has, don't panic. We can help. There are ways there are tools to help get the foreclosure stopped. We do this in, 7 out of 10 of the short sales we get that we're having
Awesome.
to stop the foreclosure.
It's cheaper. My understanding is it's still cheaper for them to go with a short sale than it is to proceed all the way with foreclosure.
Correct. So lenders want to do a short sale versus a foreclosure. First of all, homes are not selling on at the auction steps, especially they have a minimum net they need to meet.
Hmm.
And of course, people think auction, oh, I'm going to get this, on pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Well, that's not true. If the minimum net is not met, then the bank just takes possession, and that's what we know as a REO. So now the bank owns the property and they will eventually put it on the market, but they incur cost. I mean, they're paying for foreclosure attorneys, they're paying for so much stuff. And
Yep.
now if it goes to REO, then now they have to pay for the maintenance, for this utilities, whatever happens to the home, they're
Yeah,
paying.
so in insurance, taxes, all that stuff, and that's really interesting. What's funny about that is that to me that confirms also how we always try to tell sellers you're going to get top dollar on market versus off market. And what that's proving right there is the lenders that are potentially foreclosing on these properties, they know if it goes on market as a short sale, they're still going to net better than if they go to auction because the investors going to these auctions are going to be low ballers.
Right, because the most important thing in a short sale is that short sale lender's appraisal.
Mm.
And so that's telling them the as is market value. So they're still selling the home at market value, but as is. And every loan type is different. So there's percentages underneath that appraised value that they'll accept.
Okay.
So just because it appraises at $300,000 does not mean they need to accept
Okay.
$300,000. It could be less.
Okay.
Okay. So here is the high level process. Just considering that if there is a foreclosure, you have to stop or delay the foreclosure if possible. You have to gather all of the seller's documents, all the seller's financials. That is the last 2 months pay stubs, last 2 months bank statements, and last 2 years tax records at a minimum. You open the short sale with the lender. The very first thing we do is we send the letter of authorization that gives us the authority to speak to the lender on the homeowner's behalf. And then we open the short sale with the lender. And that is sending all the financial documents, the mortgage, the hardship letter, there's a whole packet that needs to go to the lender to open the short sale. At some point, we have to list and market the property. Some lenders, you have to do it before. They'll look at an offer and do an appraisal, but some lenders will actually come out and do the appraisal before you list the property, and that's what we want. And it doesn't always work because some lenders are like, no, you have to list it first. Well, I have listed a property because the lender told me I had to list it before they did the appraisal. So market value was like 325, but the appraiser came out and it was a 1 year old home. So the appraised value was 330. So I had to change the price to 330. Um, so, optics, that
Yeah.
does not, that doesn't look good. So we
Wow.
prefer to have to, if we're able to have the lender send out the appraiser before we list it.
Can I ask you a question about the authorization? Does every lender have their own, or is there a standard form you can go ahead and have a seller sign?
Both. So some lenders have their own that you have to use, and some lenders I just have a standard generic one that the homeowner signs. So the very first thing we do is as soon as we get the call, is I go to the lender's website
Hmm.
and search for their loss mitigation to
Hmm.
find the different documents that are they require to do a short sale.
Okay.
Yeah. So we receive a buyer's offer. With that, we there's a whole package that has to be submitted to the lender with the offer. Um, and during this time, we are looking at the title because remember, we pull it as soon as we get the listing agreement signed. We pull the title to see what liens are on there.
Do
And we
you pull
were,
it, you pull it through a title company or you
yeah,
use, okay.
yeah, my title company. I trained my title company so to do help with this whole process.
Okay.
Um, So we look at the liens to figure out, okay, which one of these can we dispute or can we get removed? Which one of them do I have to contact to, like HOAs, you have to contact the HOA to negotiate a lesser, amount than what the lien is worth or what the lien is. The biggest thing, again, remember I said the appraisal is the number one thing in a short sale. That's the most important thing because that gives us the price at which the lender will accept an offer. So I do a really good job of, now I do, I've learned lessons of getting all of the deficiencies of the home and then having a cost associated to that. So when the appraiser goes out, I'm able to say, hey, Mr. Lender, they had their floorboards are completely messed up. The floors and carpet needs to be replaced. Here's the cost to do that. Because remember, the home is sold as is.
So it's the opposite logic of what we would normally want to help make value. You're actually
Yes,
trying to push the lender's appraisal down because it
correct.
makes your selling of the property easier and it makes everything easier because it helps the buyers see a better value in the property if you have a lower threshold.
Correct. I do an appraisal packet for my traditional sales that we want to raise the appraised value. I also do an appraisal packet with short sale appraisers that does the reverse. Here are all the problems. Here's the price associated to it.
Yep,
So that yeah, we want that value to be as low as possible.
cool.
Negotiate with lenders. I can't tell you, I've disputed so many appraisals. I've went back and forth saying, no, this is the most there's a $5,000 difference of what you guys will accept versus what the buyer's willing to offer. So there's a lot of negotiations at different points in the transaction. And then obtain approval and close just because the lender may say, oh, yeah, everything looks good, but it's up to the investor behind the loan to approve the short sale. So once the lender has all of their information and we've negotiated, with them, um, they then send the whole packet to the investor. That may be Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. It could be a big bank, whoever that investor is behind the loan.
So
Um,
you've got like the loan servicing department and the customer service people you're talking to, so everybody can understand. And the investor is the person who actually is holding the note and lended the money. They're the financial backer, and it's
yep,
their law. They're the ones taking the loss
yep, yep,
ultimately. And
yep.
they're betting on we would rather get something rather than nothing or less. Like they're going to eventually get something, but
Right,
that's the concept there. And a lot of sellers don't understand that either. So it's helpful if we understand the structure of how loans work, that they understand that there's like the big guy in the back room that has to ultimately approve this whole deal. It's not just like Sally on the customer service line.
right,
Yeah.
right. Exactly, exactly. And so I have one right now that I've been disputing with Freddie Mac. This is the one where the value, I would have listed if it was a traditional, I would have listed it at 325. The appraiser came back and said 330 because it's only a year old home. There was really nothing to dispute. And Freddie Mac said that they had to accept it. They could not accept an offer under 330. Well, that went on, and so we had an offer. It was not accepted by Freddie Mac. So I put it back on the market, and now we have gotten like 7 offers at around 290. So I have disputed this with Freddie Mac, and it looks like they're getting ready to approve this new offer at the 290.
Wow.
So yeah, it's Freddie Mac is the hardest one to deal with, and conventional. Conventional. are because there's no rules behind conventional
Okay.
loans, but Freddie Mac is the most difficult investor to deal with so
Okay.
far. Okay. Um, okay, here are some of the documents that lenders usually require to start the short sale. Like I said, the hardship letter, the contract. This is the offer contract. They also need your listing agreement contract, bank statements. Uh,
The offer contract is not an offer on the house yet, or it is eventually.
so it is. So they will need the both the listing agreement and the offer contract.
But do you have when you first start the process asking for them to allow a short sale, you don't have any offers because you're not on the market yet. So this is just a general list of the things they're going to need over the course of doing the short sale.
This is yes, this is just a
Okay.
general list.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot. So contract, this is both again, this is both the listing agreement between the contract between you and the homeowner and the if there is an offer, that contract.
Okay.
So all of these, so last 2 months bank statements, last 2 months pay stubs or proof of income. If it's Social Security, you get their award letter. If it's, unemployment or disability, still they have award letters that they need to send in. Last 2 years tax returns, all of the authorization forms. I get authorization forms for that gives me authorization to speak to the different entities on behalf of the homeowner for HOA, for the lender, for a foreclosure attorney, and just a general authorization in case something else pops up. Like I've had to negotiate off uh, credit cards, off of liens, off of the deed, the title of the home. So
Geez.
yeah.
It could be
Um,
anything though. It could be like a plumber's bill or something.
and solar panels are the worst. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then the financial worksheets. We all know what the final settlement statement is, that the buyers and sellers get just before closing that shows all the numbers. This financial worksheet is that, but we need it at different when we open the short sale with the lender, when we get an offer, when they're reviewing, they may ask for updates on it. So this is for me, this is the most critical thing for the title company that you're working with to understand is that you may need and it's called a HUD one to all the lenders. You may need that HUD one financial worksheet multiple times and updated several times throughout the process. So when I say I've trained my title company, they help me. They know that when I say, "Hey, I need a HUD one," they immediately jump on it and get it to me. Um, and also, they know that when they send over the title commitment, to also send over all of the everything that was filed against the property, any deeds, any judgments, everything, all the paperwork for that as well. So I know who I need to contact to get those liens removed from the title.
Cool.
Okay. Now,
Hmm.
you can go wrong in a short sale in so many different ways.
Uh,
Um, So somebody is happily married when you first start, and then suddenly they're separated or divorced. Most lenders require a separation, a legal separation or divorce filings. If that hasn't happened yet, they need a statement stating, what's going on. If you have filed bankruptcy previously or are currently in bankruptcy, well, that bankruptcy stops everything. The biggest thing is you have to remember people get behind on their mortgages. If that's the instance, if they've gotten behind on the mortgage, people do that because of a situation. And especially if they're facing for imminent foreclosure coming soon, they most likely have ignored and ignored and ignored over and over again for months. And so the lack of cooperation is huge. I have a conversation right up front, and in every email I send to them initially, I say the most important thing that you need to do right now is cooperate with me and remember that time is of the essence in everything we do. Because again, once you first think you're facing foreclosure or you have have a hardship, your options are wide open. There's so many things that can happen, but as if you stop making payments as you get closer and closer to a pre-foreclosure and then a foreclosure, your options definitely shrink. So cooperation is the most important thing that a seller needs to do in this process. Like I said, that home, the property issues, that home that the homeowner just left the property and squatters moved in, there was so much damage. It was ridiculous. High appraisals. I've learned my lesson over and over again on this. That's why I work really hard to have conversations with the appraisers and get them an appraisal packet so they know exactly what that it needs to be an as-is appraisal. It's for a short sale. And if I found other comps nearby, here are the list of the as-is comps. And of course, vandalism, another property issue. Other things that have happened are homeowners forget that they still need to maintain the yards. We had one in Dallas where their grass was like taller than me, and the city came out and cut it, and they put a lien on the property for a couple $100 because the homeowner did not take care of maintain the yard. So in that instance, I could not get the lien off of the property, and it was like $230 because the city would not remove it at all. They said it stays with the house, not with the homeowner, not with the existing homeowner. So if somebody else buys it, they now inherit this lien. So what I did is I paid the $235 to get it removed.
Yep.
It wasn't worth, and I am constantly paying for things
Yep.
within means
Yep.
because that's
You're
just
going to
what we
lose it all. You're going to spend a few $100s to lose the whole thing. So you have to,
yeah.
it's one of those things you have to weigh the pros and cons.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So title issues, these are liens that can be on title, HOA liens, IRS liens, judgments, second mortgages, HUD and down payment assistant liens. All of these can be negotiated in some fashion. In Texas, personal judgments cannot hold a house hostage. So we write a letter to the company saying, hey, this is a short sale. I need you to do a partial release on this so that it's not on the home, but it stays with the homeowner. So
Okay.
there's a bunch of different things that you have to look for on the lien, but everything is resolvable.
What about just because I have that we're going to run out of time, I think. But what about a HUD partial claim if they've already tried to do a loan modification? Well, have you ever tried to negotiate one of those?
Yes, the lender does that on my behalf.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
I
that's
don't
the
want to.
HUD right here.
Yeah, I don't want
Yep.
to go down a rabbit hole. I just wanted to
Yep.
ask.
Yep. Okay.
So let me tell everybody what that means, though, because I think that probably happens somewhat often. Is
All
that
the time. Yeah.
people, so if somebody started to go into foreclosure or they missed some payments and their lender reached out and said, hey, how can we help? And they offer them to like do a loan modification. So like, let's say as of today, they've missed 3 months of payments and those payments plus some fees and stuff added up to like, $8,000. They can do a modification and then they'll like tack all that money on a second lien that's sitting there. And I just learned this. It's called a HUD partial claim lien. And so when they go to pay that off, like now they ended up like kind of rehabilitating themselves, paying their mortgage again, but then they stopped again. And so it was going to go to foreclosure. We're in the middle of a short sale. So you have this second lien, and we thought it was a first time buyer grant at first when we saw it. And it ends up that they already tried to stop themselves from getting foreclosed on. And so now we're dealing with that lien. So I'm sure there's like probably 50 other examples, but I imagine, Dawn, that's probably somewhat common.
Yeah, and the HUD partial claim, so the HUD gives the lender the money to pay to catch the payments up. So
Ah,
it's HUD that puts the lien on the property.
gotcha. So then, like, the lender kind of owes HUD the money, and so the lender
Yes,
negotiates with HUD directly.
correct.
That
Yep.
makes sense. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Okay, how long does a short sale take? So here the investor behind the loan, every loan type is different. The guidelines and requirements are different. The lender has their own guidelines and requirements. Um, Basically, we're seeing, I've done it as quick as 75 days, but what I say is usually 90 to 120 days from the time we get an offer. It could be less and it could be more.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, so you have to be patient, and you as a realtor have to be persistent with the lender because you need to get constant updates and know what the lender needs right away without because time is literally of the essence in these. Okay, I'm going to try to hurry up through here. I only
Okay.
have a couple more.
Yeah.
Okay, so the goal of this presentation was not to make you an expert. It is just to help you recognize when you, by asking questions of your um, listings of your sellers to recognize a short sale and understanding what all is involved. It's a lot of work. Every lender is different, every loan type is different, and every investor is different. So it's not just the homeowner and the lender that's involved. It is like four or five, it could be six, seven different entities that are involved with a short sale. Um, And then here is this, you don't have to handle this alone. I do handle negotiations throughout the country. I have boots on the ground. Like we have a couple in Alabama. I have an agent there that is my boots on the ground, and I pay her a referral fee for handling that. But I'm handling all of the short sale stuff with the lender. And it is so much work that if somebody asks me for help, I will give a little bit of my time, but it's just really better if you partner with somebody who understands the entire short sale process and can get you to the finish line. That way you're still getting paid, you're taking care of your clients, you're giving them your fiduciary duties. You're abiding by that, and the timeline is shrunk massively when you partner with somebody who knows what they're doing
I,
instead of finagling your way through it.
I love that. So, anybody on here who wants Dawn's information, let me ask a couple questions that were in the chat. The first one I want to ask and you kind of answered it, I think, is the process generally the same from state to state as far as like dealing with the lenders and doing all your negotiating?
Yes, yes. The that process is pretty much. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Unless anybody
Yeah,
needs
just
it.
keep that on there. That's fine.
Um, so yes, the lender process is typically the same. There may be different state things that you have to abide by,
Okay.
but uh, but generally, yes, every
Okay.
state is the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
so another question that got asked was about you co-listing with an agent in another state, and I answered that you can't co-list on the MLS
correct.
unless you're licensed in the state, but it sounds to me like that agent would be dealing with and negotiating with the buyer, but you can handle the negotiations and the conversations with the lenders and the lien holders and all that stuff.
So even with the buyer, it's a tag team. She can handle, hey, I need to get to the house to meet the appraiser there, or I need to put a lockbox or a sign on it. But for the most part, because I'm also educating the buyer's agent and the buyer on what is needed, it's just easier for me to handle that
Okay.
versus, hey, Miss Agent, I need you to go tell the buyer's agent I need X, Y, and Z from them. So
And let me ask you the question then, is it because so you're not practicing real estate in that state per se. I mean, I know if that's blurry, but I'm not here to get into that. I think at the end of the day though, the short sale numbers kind of are what they are. Once you've done all that legwork with the lender and all the lien holders and everybody up front and title, getting your numbers solid, from my experience, it kind of is what it is, right? For the buyer, like in a way.
Well, so it is. There have been issues where the buyer comes in, we have the appraised value, the buyer comes in, they do inspection, and they find all the shit that was wrong
Yeah.
that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
Then we have to go back and re-dispute the appraisal.
Okay.
So
Okay.
for the most part, yes, I am not doing anything that is local. I am not the master of that community I know nothing about it.
Okay.
Everything I deal with the buyer's agent is to do with the short sale
Okay. How often are solar panels causing a short sale? Like people not paying their solar panel bill?
all the time, all the time.
Wow.
Solar panels are the one thing that are the hardest to negotiate off of a lien. We've done it several times, but it's the hardest. and especially right now, so many solar panels are going bankrupt and they're just MIA, and nobody has taken over those solar panel liens yet. So we're trying to figure out how can we get this taken off. Um, so this is what we're really seeing over the last month or two when, all hell broke out with solar panels. Yes, I see it all the time.
Does the original seller, so does the homeowner ever come out of pocket with money at closing in a short sale?
So, yeah, good question. So a homeowner in a short sale cannot make any money on the property, but they also don't pay anything into the property. They know they can't fix things at the home. The home is sold as is. Seller's concessions can happen in certain instances, but there is a possibility for relocation expenses, and that's typically a couple of $1,000s, but the investor has to approve that.
Okay. What do you charge? Tanya asked, and then she said some short sale negotiators that negotiate for agents throughout the country charge 1% to negotiate. Do you offer that service?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. So like what I'm gathering from that is if I'm the agent and I'm asking you to partner with me and I negotiate and get all the figures and everything, you help me, of course. If the lender, my homeowner's lender is offering 3% commission on the listing side, you get 1% and I get 2%.
Yep.
Okay.
And just FYI, I always get more than 3% because this is so much work. So I take, my apples are a little bit higher.
So do you say to the lender, I'm gonna list for 4%, and then when the buyer's agent comes along, do we do that thing here in Texas where we negotiate with them and they may only get 2%, or do you see sometimes the lender's approving 7%?
No, they will not approve over 6%.
Okay, so you kind of pull the strings. And I completely agree with that, y'all, because like I said, I'm on the buyer side of this transaction and I actually have ended up stepping in and doing a lot of work. If this other agent on the listing side, like Dawn's an expert, if she were an expert and I'm the buyer's agent on a short sale all day, every day, I'm perfectly happy with Dawn making 4% and me making 2%. Go for it, girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so some agents are like, no, I need my full apples. Well, you need to talk to your buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say this is an approved, this is an approved buyer's agent compensation, and here's what it is.
Cool. I love it.
Mhm.
We're gonna do one more question and then go. If an agent has a good lead, do you have a process where they could send you the major details and you decide if it's worth it for you to take the listing or help?
Yes, shortsaleexperts.net.
Cool.
There's a lead form on there, and it also asks for your information. That way I can put you in my database, and that way you can get paid a referral as well.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Well, we're at time and Dawn, you're amazing and we appreciate you so much. If anybody wants to get a hold of Dawn or ask a question, her info's been on the screen for a while. And if we need to do a deeper dive ever, maybe we can get you back on if people reach out and have more questions because I think it's something that a lot of agents really don't know anything about. So
Right, right.
it's a
And if you need to get in touch with me, text me, don't call. My phone blows up, and unfortunately, I have to answer every call, and I would rather be able to pay attention to you, and set up a time to have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you. We have such a great group here. Everybody's willing to help everybody. So, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you tomorrow. Is coffee and collaboration in person at the Bean in the Bottle in Houston. Sorry, Dawn. I wish we could just bullet train you here.
Right.
Um,
I
and
miss all
then
these great events down there.
I know, and then we'll get you in the loop. You can be the event lady up there later. Next week we'll be here again, so we'll see you all then.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you. This is amazing.